fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Death Star turret with Darth Vader from the brand new Star Wars Imaginext line from Fisher-Price, aka Mattel. And if you guys follow this channel at all, you know that I was a huge fan of Mission Fleet, which was a line Hasbro did of 2.5-inch Star Wars action figures that came with various vehicles. I always wished they would do playsets. They never really did, but it was a fun line. It lasted maybe 3 years or so, and then just kind of drifted into obscurity with fewer and fewer releases until it was pretty much dead. I believe that Hasbro just saw, weakening sales and decided to scrap it, and then for whatever reason, I'm guessing they've abandoned the 2.53-inch world for Star Wars as I knock this turret around. And so now, obviously, Disney must have made a deal with Mattel and Fisher-Price, which is a subsidiary of Mattel. And so now we actually have Star Wars Imaginext figures. The thing that's weird is that I'm assuming Disney still has the overall action figure license with Hasbro, and because of that, we're getting these really strange metal figures. And I'll dive into that more a little bit later on, but they have significantly less articulation than a normal Imaginext figure, and I'm assuming the reason for that is because they can't make full-on action figures because it would violate the deal Disney has with Hasbro, so we're stuck in this weird middle ground. Now, we heard about this a little bit ago. They had shown or kind of teased, or I guess officially announced, however you want to put it, this large Darth Vader toy that comes with a Stormtrooper. And I saw this recently at Target, and I thought, oh, okay, this is that thing we knew about. I wonder if this is the only offering we're going to get, or if there's going to be something else. And it was the only one that I had seen, and it came with a Stormtrooper that was metal, which I thought was weird, and I noticed the lack of articulation because of the open-style packaging. And then I went to another Target, and I saw this large Mandalorian figure that didn't come with any figures. It was just, like, no normal-sized Imaginext figures. It was just a large Mandalorian with some battle features and whatnot. And those are the only two offerings I saw at Target. And so I didn't know if that's all the line had right now, if that's all that was going on. I didn't know if we were going to get smaller sets with vehicles, figure packs, the things that Imaginext is normally known for. And I was at Walmart today, and I saw this, and this was $20, and it's this kind of small Death Star turret playset that comes with Darth Vader. I also saw a large Sand Trooper, which I thought was a weird choice. Again, that did not come with any figures, very similar to the Mandalorian. And I also saw this very large R2-D2, which at first I thought was like transformed into a playset, but it was just an R2-D2 that had like an arm that came out that shot like a little saw blade or something. But that came with a metal C-3PO. And so I've noticed that there's been 3 figures so far, this Darth Vader, the Stormtrooper, and the C-3PO, and they're all metal, and they all have the same limited articulation. So again, I'm wondering if this is all that Fisher-Price can do in the Imaginext line with Star Wars, and if that's the truth, it's kind of a shame, because these figures are okay, but not the best. And again, once I open this up, we'll take a closer look and everything, but it's just strange because Imaginext is known for pretty good little figures. I've always loved what they've done with DC and their own kind of, themes, jungle, knights, all that kind of stuff. And I've always thought these little figures were kind of neat. Even as an adult collector, I've enjoyed, collecting some of the figures. They do play sets and vehicles very well. And so I was very interested to see what they could do with Star Wars. And I don't know if they're going to do vehicles because of the limited articulation, and again, I'll talk about that soon. So I saw this one. It was $20. It was easily the cheapest of the 5 that I've seen, and I don't know if some are exclusive to Target, some are exclusive to Walmart. I don't know. This was the only one that I saw there, so I thought I'll grab it because they only had one of them, and again, it was $20, and I felt like I want to try these, but I don't want to go in too much, because if these metal figures are all we're ever going to be able to get from Imaginext for Star Wars, then I'm probably not going to go too heavy into this line. And it's just sad because they're kind of being held back. And so it's weird that they even agreed to do this. Like, Why would you take this on knowing you're going to have this handicap? It's very strange. But in any case, we have this open style of packaging here. You can see that the Imaginext platform moves the turret side to side. Imaginext is known for having these giant red panels, whatever we want to call them, that kind of, you know, spin side to side or get pushed down to activate some kind of feature or something like that. If you're familiar with Imaginext at all, big play sets and things will have a couple of these around. But so we have this large Imaginext panel here. You have the 3 missiles, you have the missile launcher here, and again, I'll take this out of the packaging soon. But spinning around to the back, it shows that, you know, Vader sits there. There's a place to store the missiles over here. The missile fires. Apparently, you can put the turret or the like firing part of the cannon back into the turret and it springs out. So we'll check out how all that kind of stuff works. But yeah, it's just weird. And I thought, I got to check it out. I got to try at least one of these. And so I opted for the cheapest one available. Again, I have no idea what the future of this line will bring. But I kind of think it can't possibly be as successful as all of the other Imaginext lines because the figures are held back. And I think making them metal was maybe something they thought would be a draw and make them different. Or maybe they have to be metal so they're not considered action figures. It's weird. Licensing is weird. In any case, let's get everything out of the packaging here and let's take a closer look. Alright, so pretty much what you see is what you get. There's nothing inside. I was kind of hoping that there would be a lightsaber inside for Vader, even though he is pictured with the lightsaber on the packaging. In the artwork, it is not included. So we're going to start with the figure because I feel like that's what most people are probably interested in. This thing is weighty. It is definitely die-cast. It looks good, like just from a purely aesthetic standpoint. I do think it looks good. They painted the eyes red. The head can move from side to side. The arms can move, but they do not have the hinge that Imaginext figures usually do, so there's no out to the side movement. And there's absolutely no leg movement whatsoever. It does not have the legs that can bend forward like most Imaginext figures. As a result, I think making vehicles for these would be very difficult because none of them would be able to sit in said vehicles. So it's a really weird choice. And just like the fact that this is so heavy, if you wing this at somebody, you could do some damage. It's just a weird choice for, you know, a line of toys aimed at the target demographic that this is aimed at. Solid metal figures is just a really weird choice to me. Again, you know, I appreciate the movement that it has. I guess they just, being metal, they didn't think they could give it leg articulation. I don't know. I mean, he does have a soft goods cape, which isn't bad. Wish it was a little wider. But yeah, it's a weird choice. I mean, Imaginext figures also usually have a hand swivel. This does not have that. So it's got the 3 points of articulation, and that's it. And it is really solid metal. Like, you can feel the weight in this. It's heavy and could do some damage. It's heavy. So, aside from that, we have the Death Star turret, which honestly, I think looks pretty good. As like a tiny Imaginext playset, I think it's neat. Obviously, you know, thinking about the surface of the Death Star, Vader probably wouldn't just be hanging out, but there's that. They do still have the holes in the feet, and there's a peg in here that you're supposed to peg them into, so we got that going. It's very basic. I mean, it's just this turret. It has the missile launcher here. It has the giant Imaginext pad, a space to store the 3 missiles, which are done in a somewhat translucent green plastic. They're not 100% translucent, but they're not 100% opaque either. So basically, you can take the turret and bring this back, and it will click into place. And then when you push the pad, I mean, you can do it even without Vader sitting here, but you push it in, and that will pop out. And then you can use this to spin it side to side. And then you place a missile inside. And then press the button down, and it will fire. And it fires well. I mean, no problems there. I don't have any issues with that. So, as a super basic Imaginext playset, it's fine. But I feel like in the old days of Imaginext, something like this would have been 10, 12, 15 tops. And I have to feel like that extra $5 is because of the die-cast metal. And I mean, that makes sense. Metal is more expensive than plastic, but I also don't want it to be metal. I wish this, if this was a standard Imaginext figure with all of the articulation that they usually have, I would be over the moon with these. I would be so happy because it looks good. I mean, this is an Imaginext version of Vader, and aesthetically, they nailed it. It looks great. I'm very happy with how it looks. But it needs that articulation, and he needs a lightsaber. So, again, I'm assuming this is some kind of middle ground where they can make these, but it doesn't violate the licensing for action figures to Hasbro. I have to assume that that's why these were made metal, because it's a really weird choice. And maybe they're not allowed to include accessories. I don't know. But if this was a normal plastic Vader with the normal articulation and a lightsaber, I would say that this is a perfect set. I'd still have no problem paying $20 for it. Yes, it could be $15, but I'd still pay $20 if this was a really good articulated figure with a lightsaber accessory, because that's what it should be. The other reason I thought about picking this up, I wanted to see how they scale with Mission Fleet. So Mission Fleet, here's a Mission Fleet Stormtrooper. This is 2.5. This is 3. So they're close. I mean, they're not terribly oversized. And so, you know, you could probably use these with Mission Fleet figures and it would kind of work. So if they do some kind of really cool playset, I could be into that and then just use it with Mission Fleet figures, because playsets are one thing that Imaginext usually does really well and something that Mission Fleet never really got to. So I think vehicles are going to be difficult for this line, but I think playsets could be very good, because when you have a figure that can't, you know, bend or sit, it's going to be hard to make vehicles, but it would still be easy enough to make playsets, because then you can just kind of pose them around. So this might be kind of the perfect amalgamation between the two lines, where I have the figures and the vehicles from Mission Fleet, and I can use them with the playsets from Imaginext, and then together the two of them can kind of be perfect. So, I mean, you're going to have a lot of these goofy red action pads around, but I mean, I can live with that. Obviously, putting a Mission Fleet character in there looks goofy, but again, you don't need a figure to be in here to activate these. They will completely work just by moving and manipulating the pad around on its own. So it's kind of a weird situation to be in. It kind of feels like you have to kind of be into both lines and put them together to make one solid, complete toy line. The good news is, if you missed out on Mission Fleet, it's everywhere, super cheap. If you have an Ollie's anywhere around you, you can get a significant amount of Mission Fleet for rock bottom prices. I mean, rock bottom prices. So if you're into this and you kind of want to build the two lines together, go to Ollie's, stock up on a bunch of Mission Fleet, and then pick and choose your Imaginext playsets as they happen. Now, I've seen 5 releases, and only one of them is a quasi playset. The other 4 are large characters. So I don't know how many playsets we're going to get out of this line, but it might just be something to keep an eye on. Because like I said, this little Death Star turret is kind of a nice starting point test area. I would love like a large playset, whether it's, I mean, I don't really need any like vehicle playsets. Like I don't want like a Millennium Falcon, but maybe like, you know, the Cantina on Tatooine, or maybe like an interior of the Death Star, or maybe like the Yavin base or something like that. Could be really cool if Imaginext did them well. And I mean, Hasbro did some playsets back with Play School Heroes, and so you could kind of use those with Mission Fleet as well. But I just think some of them were very hit and miss. So I feel like Imaginext does playsets really well, and if we could get some Star Wars playsets out of them, you know, just put the figures or whatever to the side and just use your Mission Fleet with it, and it could be great. But this is just such a weird choice to me. It looks good. Aesthetically, just to put this on my shelf, it looks good. But the lack of articulation and the fact that it's made of metal just really takes away from it. And also no accessories. Like, the old Imaginext would have absolutely given him a lightsaber. And I just think it's weird that that's not included here. I feel like even being metal, he could still hold a lightsaber. So I don't understand why they didn't include it, unless giving him accessories is somehow infringing on the Hasbro license. So I don't know. I'm very apprehensive about the future of this line. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. But 4 out of the 5 releases, I really have no interest in whatsoever, because I don't want large figures of these characters. So I don't know. Take it for what you will. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments. Is this something you just don't care about at all? Do you kind of agree with me? Do you think it could be a nice juxtaposition with Mission Fleet? Do you like the metal figures? Are you fine with that? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.